Hey, what is up, everybody? Happy Monday. Good to see everybody here. What's up, Hannah B? Good to see you in the house. Hope you're all doing well today. For just real quick as we get started, for those of you guys who are praying, people will be praying for our friends in Florida because I know it's a bumpy ride there right now. So we're thinking about you guys and praying for you. Hoping you're doing well. Everybody else, good to see you here on a Monday night. We are on chapter 9 of 10 chapters, so we're almost at the end. And if you're just joining us, we are reading through John Acuff's book, Soundtracks, The Surprising Solution to Overthinking. And last week, we talked about the new anthem. We got started with that. Good to see you, Juan Carlos. I'm glad you're here, my friend. It's good to see you. Thinking about you, praying for you. Debbie, good to see you. But we started talking about the new anthem last week, and I started doing it every morning and every evening before I go to bed, reading this new anthem to myself out loud in the mirror. And it was exactly what I thought. It was it felt a little silly, but it's already been making a difference in my thinking, and I really been very happy about it. And before we jumped into chapter 9, I want to just quickly recap chapter 8. Specifically, I wanted to tell you about some of the lines in the new anthem that really stuck with me, and see if this resonated with anybody else or if you had a different experience. There were a couple of lines in the new anthem that I found really easy to say. And because I found them easy to say, I realized those were not going to be my challenge ones. For example, when I say today is brand new and tomorrow is too, I don't struggle with that a whole lot. So that one was easy for me to say. I've got a gift worth giving. Pretty easy for me to say. I believe in that. But there's a couple of them that, like the only person standing in my way is me, and I quit doing that yesterday. That was a good one. Uh, Winning is contagious. When I help others win, I win too. I found that really easy to say because I believe in helping other people. So that was not challenging. Um, Momentum is messy. That one was a little bit challenging. Uh, hey, what's up, Kat? Good to see you. Kurt, glad you're here. But when I said momentum is messy, uh, that one, I didn't love that one because I don't love the mess side of it. Um, but the biggest one for me, number 10, the best response to obstacles is to do it anyway. The best response to obstacles is to do it anyway. That one I'm still chewing on because I sometimes I avoid conflict. I avoid obstacles sometimes. So that has been challenging for me. Oh yeah, number 6 too. Feeling uncomfortable is just a sign that my old comfort zone is having a hard time keeping up with me. Those some of those are easier than others. And then the last quote I'll use from last week before we jump into this week is, everything you want is on the other side of new actions. Everything that you want is on the other side of new actions. And right now, there's a couple things I really want in my life, and I'm uh, I'm resisting them. I'm it's frustrating, but I'm resisting new actions, and I realize that for me to get there, I got to do something different, and I'm fighting myself. So that's something I'm working on. So before we jump into chapter 9, anybody have any experiences with the anthem or with any of those ideas that you want to share from this last week? Any challenges? Any victories? What do you got? What's happened between last Monday and today relative to turning down the volume on old soundtracks and turning up the volume on new soundtracks? Talk to me for a second. Things always work out for me, Debbie says. Yep, that's a that's a really good one. In fact, here in chapter 9, he talks about how his kids are so sick of hearing him say that sometimes. Things are always working out for me. Yeah, that's a great one, though. Really good one. Anything else? Yeah, Marilyn, there's some challenges. Yep, I hear you, my friend. Um, I know it sounds, Marilyn, I know it sounds trivial, but this community can be there for you to kind of just cheer you on. And I want you to know that's the case, especially with me. And I can name a lot of other people in this chat right now that if you need someone to speak some life to you, we're happy to do that. And I know that in some ways, when you're going through difficult times, some words can feel trite and cheap, but I want you to know that we genuinely are there for you. So let us just continue to cheer you on. And you got this. I promise you got this. Yeah, we're with you. Kurt said, I took a big step with a purchase that I was reluctant to make. Congratulations. I assume that's a purchase you wanted to make, right? I mean, it was a good decision. So we'll cheer you on in that regard. Nice. Debbie says, having a bad day. Went to get some tea and told them it was my first day. The kid at the window was upbeat and nice and gave me a coupon for a free drink. Really turned my day around. Love that. And one of the things I want to highlight there, Debbie, it's so cool that happened to you. And also don't forget that we can be doing that for someone else and don't even realize it. So that's a really good reminder too. Yeah, Marilyn, we are with you, my friend, as much as we can be, for sure. What's up, Dawn Eckel? Good to see you. Roland Thunder Designs in the house. Good to see you guys. All right. Well, let's jump into chapter 9. Let me talk through the stuff that spoke to me. And like any week, if there's anything that you want to comment on, whether it's something I'm saying or something else that's in the chapter, please drop it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you guys. Mary Beth, good to see you. Glad you're here with us. So chapter 9, we only have 2 chapters left, including this one. Chapter 9 is called Gather Evidence. And there's a quote right in the very first page there, page 167, that I highlighted. It was a book called Victor, what's it called? Who Died and Made You Boss, that he was quoting from. And there was a quote from Steve Prefontaine that I thought was really worth it. I thought that was great. He said, somebody may beat me, but they're going to have to bleed to do it. I thought that was pretty great. We all know that there's times when that's not healthy, right? But in general, that was a funny quote from Steve. Somebody may beat me, but they'll have to bleed to do it. In fact, John said that was one of his soundtracks he used when he was building his blog. Whenever I felt like giving up or skipping a day, I'd repeat that line. I'd jump back on my laptop and think, you might get more readers than me, but you'll have to write 2 million words because I'm going to write 1 million. And sometimes that's a really good thing to encourage ourselves with. All right. So as he started talking in the first chapter, he started talking about when he got a chance to talk to, I just lost his name again. What was it? His name is Victor, right? Victor. When he got the chance to talk to him, one of the things that Victor ended the conversation with is he said that he wanted him to start saying to himself, everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me. And he told him to repeat it to himself over and over and over and over. And but then at the end of that little section of the chapter, he says, and he didn't want me to say it just once. He wanted me to repeat it. He wanted me to say it 12 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, if that's what it took to believe it. And he said, more than just saying it, he wanted me to look for it, to find examples of it, to point it out to myself and to other people. He wanted me to gather evidence. And that's what this chapter is all about, is gathering evidence. And we'll jump into that here a little bit deeper in just a moment. But that's the entire chapter, is gathering evidence. And the very next section is titled, You'll Find the Things That You're Looking For. And as soon as I read that section header, man, that just bells went off all inside me, because I was like, man, I've known that, but this is a really good reminder, is that when I'm gathering evidence, I will find the things I'm looking for. And if I'm looking for negative things, I will find negative things. If I'm looking for positive things, I'll find positive things. I think about that all the time, whether I'm thinking about my past, when I think all the way back to school, when I was in school, it was always amazing to me that there would be people who are all in the same room together every day, but they're looking for different things and they find different things. There were people all the time who were finding trouble, and I'm sorry, who were looking for trouble and finding it. And there are people who are looking for happiness and finding it. There are people who are looking for safe relationships and found them. There are people who just all kinds of things. And I remember always noticing, man, that guy over there is constantly having struggles, but he's also looking for trouble, and that's what he's finding it. So that's a great reminder. You'll find the things you're looking for. And let me just read this section here. Also, see if I got a slide for it. No, I'll get there in just a minute. It says, the reason everything is working out for me felt fake at first was because I didn't have any evidence that it was true. I didn't have any proof. Worse than that, my pocket jury was telling me the opposite. And then he goes on to define what he calls a pocket jury. And he said, a pocket jury is a collection of broken soundtracks that judge your life whenever you dare to be more than you currently are. It can be built from criticisms by strangers, comments from friends, missteps, and missed opportunities. It often has reams and reams of evidence that you're not doing the right thing, that you're not doing the right one to do that thing you're thinking about doing, but yet it's small enough to travel around in your pocket. In addition to getting real loud whenever you try to work on yourself, the pocket jury also specializes in record scratch moments. These are the intrusive thoughts that appear out of nowhere to remind you of a mistake you made 4 years ago. That's what's so annoying about the pocket jury. There's no statute of limitations. It will pull out evidence from 10 years deep if that's what will knock you off track the fastest. That's why new soundtracks don't often last very long. We take this brand new, bright-eyed soundtrack and send it into battle against a jury that's been preparing for this fight for years. Then we hope that the new soundtrack will somehow be louder than all the old ones. I'll just keep on reading because it's so good. Hope is a wonderful thing, but it's not enough if you want to really believe a new soundtrack. You have to gather evidence. You have to gather some evidence of what you want to be true in your life. This is not a passive experience. Proof won't find you. You have to find it. Fear comes free. Faith takes work. Man, I thought that whole paragraph was so powerful. You have to gather some evidence of what you want to be true in your life. This is not a passive experience. Proof won't find you. You have to find it. Fear comes free. Faith takes work. Everything is always working out for me. It absolutely does take work. Oh, you attract, man, Deborah dropping wisdom here. You attract what you radiate. Absolutely you do. For sure. Veronica, right on. Faith without works is dead. It's true. That's what it's about. And he talks at the end of this chapter that the piece that a lot of us are missing is effort, putting effort into it, which is also true. Yes, faith does take work. It absolutely does. For real. So good. Then he starts talking about this book. Yep, Dawn's right. You have to have faith and believe to receive. It's all true. It's all different ways to say the same thing, isn't it? And he talks about this book from I've lost her name again. I'm bad at names today. Barbara Fredrickson. She wrote a book called Positivity: Discover the Upward Spiral That Will Change Your Life. And he says this. Let me see if I have a slide. I think I have a slide for this one too. Yeah. He said, I was fascinated by Fredrickson's scientific approach to such a traditionally squishy concept like positivity. It's one thing to say, turn a frown upside down. It's another thing to say, actively court 3 positive moments for every 1 negative. But that's exactly what Fredrickson suggests in her book. She writes, "This is the ratio I found to be the tipping point, predicting whether people languish or flourish." And man, when I saw those 2 words, when I saw the words languish or flourish, that really got my attention because I don't want to languish. I want to flourish. And when I see that a PhD, by the way, says that this ratio 3-to-1 is what she found to be the tipping point between languishing and flourishing. I read that section a couple times because, again, I want to flourish. I don't want to languish. And she says to actively court, to look out, to look for, to seek out, to try to find 3 positive moments for every 1 negative is the tipping point between languishing and flourishing. I think that is so powerful. What are your thoughts on that? Look for 3 positives for every negative. That's the tipping point between languishing and flourishing. The next section is called The 3 Steps to Catching Your Pocket Jury by Surprise. Keep sharing your thoughts with me on this. I'll just keep going and you guys tell me what your thoughts are. 3 steps to beating the pocket jury. Number 1, listen to what it's saying. So the first thing is just simply, what is this jury that's in your pocket? What is this jury saying? Listen to it. And then number 2, gather evidence about what's really happening. And then number 3, tell yourself the truth. And he says, most of us have never taken the time to say, hold up, what is my pocket jury saying right now? When we do, we're often surprised at the broken soundtracks that they are playing. When we actually listen to what these broken soundtracks are saying, we realize, yeah, this is not true. This is not kind. This is not helpful. And he gives several examples of people who walk through these 3 steps to listen, to gather evidence, and tell themselves the truth. And they're really useful. They're really helpful there. Lots of examples there. This little section here, he says, it's time for you to put your pocket jury on notice too, after he used some examples from the other people. So it's time for you to put your pocket jury on notice too. It had a good run. It got together negative evidence for years. Cognitive bias has collected examples that reinforce your broken soundtracks without resistance. But those days are over. Man, I want to hear somebody say that today. Those days are over. We've got the element of surprise on our side too. Pocket juries are always so cocky. They expect you to show up late to court, unprepared and disheveled. They've won for so long, they never see the loss coming, especially when you roll in with a secret weapon called effort. And he talks a lot about the musician Yanni, which is kind of funny, but talks a lot about that. And then he gives several examples of people who were able to defeat the pocket jury, and the common thread through all of those victories was effort that they put in. That's so good. Veronica, I'm glad to hear that. I just want to read this to everybody. Veronica, we were blessed to see another day. I'm blessed to have a roof over my head. I'm glad to have people that are positive and motivational in my life. Heck yeah, man. That is so good, Veronica. That's so good. I love it. Love to hear it. So read this next quote here. A soundtrack without action is just a fortune cookie. Catchy, clever, but ultimately empty. So we're here in chapter 9, almost done with the book. We've been learning about the importance of getting new soundtracks in our head, get rid of the old ones, and the new ones lead us to where we want to go and who we want to be. But without action, it's just music. Or to quote what he just said, a soundtrack without action is just a fortune cookie, catchy, clever, but ultimately empty. And he goes on to say, it turns out the fastest way to make a new soundtrack true is to turn it into action. And I'll read this last quote, and then we'll just talk about it for a few minutes. I'm the one who is going to retire my broken soundtracks, replace them with new ones, and then repeat those so often they become as automatic as the old ones. And I wrote that one down. It's on the last page 185 of the chapter, because I think that this sentence puts really everything we've learned in this entire book into one sentence. I'm the one who's going to retire my broken soundtracks, replace them with new ones, and then repeat them so often they become as automatic as the old ones. And I think that's really the key to this entire book. Again, is so many of us have been listening to junk for so long that we don't even recognize it as junk. That just brought a quick story to mind. An illustration I heard years ago is that, if you are walking along and all of a sudden there becomes a rock in your shoe, you will immediately want to get it out. You're going to recognize, oh my gosh, this hurts. And you want to stop everything. You want to sit down, take your shoe off and shake it out and get that rock out, right? But imagine what would happen if you left the rock in your shoe. Well, for a little while, you'd be like, oh, ow, oh, ow, oh, ow, oh, ow. But then eventually you'd start to favor that foot, right? And walk a little lopsided because you don't want it to hurt. And if you do it long enough, you will eventually have adjusted the way that you walk to where you forgot that that's there, and you stop even recognizing the pain for what it is. And you just simply adjust the way Veronica says, get accustomed. You start accommodating your whole life for this rock that's in your shoe. And then someone else who's, let's call it what it is, someone else who's healthy comes along and says, why are you walking that way? And you go, what are you talking about? This is the way I walk. And you've adjusted to this rock in your shoe, or to use this example of the book, you've adjusted to a bad soundtrack so much that you don't even identify it as a bad soundtrack anymore. But someone who's healthy looks at it and goes, that is terrible. You need to get rid of that soundtrack. And so many of us, myself included, we need to challenge the way that we think and allow some healthy people to challenge the way that we think. And occasionally someone's going to challenge something that you're doing, and you're going to say that, no, it's not. What are you talking about? There's nothing wrong with the way I walk. But they're going to say, man, that is unhealthy. So I think that that's just a really good analogy to say, hey, we need to deal with the rock that's in our shoe that's making us walk funny. We need to deal with the terrible soundtrack that's telling us we can't do this, or we're not made for this, or something bad's going to happen. All these different soundtracks. And get those out while we still recognize that they're there, so that we can put new ones and start walking right. I think you guys get the idea. So I'm the one who's going to retire my broken soundtrack and replace them with new ones, and then repeat them so often they become automatic as the old ones. That's also true is people who are healthy, sometimes they don't even recognize why they're healthy, because they've just been doing something healthy for long enough that they don't recognize that they're doing it. And that's a good thing, right? We talked last week. I remember my friend Mikey, who was on with us last week, he mentioned that in the evenings, it's hard for him to sometimes to get good habits going because he's tired. And I think a lot of us totally identify with that. But one of the things I pointed out was we all have habits that we've ingrained in ourselves, good habits that we've ingrained in ourselves, that even when we're tired, we still do them. Like the good example is brushing your teeth before you go to bed. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just something you do, right? Like you can have a horrible day, but before you go to bed, you still brush your teeth, you do your things. Maybe you wash your face or whatever, but you do these things every night, regardless of how bad your day might have been, because two things. One, it's a habit. And we also believe in the reason that we do it so much that we will do it regardless of how our day went. And I think that's a great example of how we need to take these, whether you use the anthem from this book or whether you do something on your own, it doesn't matter. But we have to get it ingrained in there in the same way that our bad thinking habits are in there. We need to ingrain the good ones so that we, so like Hannah says, if only we can make positive soundtracks a habit, right? And that's exactly what we're talking about, making positive soundtracks such a habit that we wouldn't ever skip them. Sticky notes around every corner. I've had sticky notes on my mirror in my bathroom. Right now, what I do is I use a dry erase marker and I write notes to myself right across my eye line so that I have to actually look right at it to see it. And of course, it's my bathroom. You don't have to like what I have in there. You're not going to be in there. But I've got reminders to myself right there. My wife's had for years, she's had some different Bible verses on 3x5 index cards stuck on the side of her mirror so she can see them every day on her side. So yeah, we absolutely can if we do it, Veronica says, for sure. Hannah says, I need accountability. Yep, we all do, right? How are we doing? It's the believing. Yep. And Veronica, I want to add to that. It's easier to believe something that you've gotten in there. Like if it's the first time you've heard something versus the 10th time. So that's one of the values of repeating something over and over, repeating it in the morning, repeating it at night, helping it get stuck in there. A lot of times some adults might say, I believe something negative about myself because I've heard it my whole life. It's that repetitive. And so we just need to switch that soundtrack until we hear positive things until that's all we know. I hope and I believe that my kids, above everything else, or above most things, they know that their dad loves them because I tell them all the time, and I know that they know it. And even if they doubt other things in life, I don't want them to doubt the love of their dad. And I say it all the time so that they don't forget it. Yeah, breaking generational trauma, absolutely, for sure. So I think that's the key here, guys, is I think I'll just kind of close up tonight with just reading that same thing I've read like 3 times already, is I'm the one who's going to retire my broken soundtracks, replace them with new ones, and then repeat them so often they become as automatic as the old ones. In fact, you know what? We'll close out this chapter with me reading from last chapter. I'm just going to go ahead and read the anthem to you guys. And I'm going to put my name in it, and you can put your name in it. Hopefully you've been reading this, but if you haven't, that's okay. I want you to just hear this as your voice saying it to yourself. I, Mark Collier, choose my thoughts. I know that doing my best starts with thinking my best. Like laying a path for an adventure, these thoughts will set the course for my actions. I am confident that what I think matters. I'm excited to see what happens next. I am disciplined and dedicated to stick with it. Here are 10 things I know. Number 1, today is brand new and tomorrow is too. Number 2, I've got a gift worth giving. Number 3, the only person that stands in my way is me, and I quit doing that yesterday. Or in this case, October 1st, because that's when I started reading these. Number 4, I am the CEO of me, and I am the best boss. Number 5, winning is contagious. When I help others win, I win too. Number 6, feeling uncomfortable is just a sign that my old comfort zone is having a hard time keeping up with me. Number 7, momentum is messy. Number 8, everything is always working out for me. Number 9, I love this one. I am my biggest fan. And number 10, the best response to obstacles is to do it anyway. So those are the things from the new anthem. I encourage you to read those to yourself every morning, every night, and see how it changes you. See how it changes your thinking and your soundtracks. So guys, it's straight up 8:30. I promise to make this 30 minutes. I hope this has been speaking to you. I know it has been me. We have one last chapter, and it's called Making a Soundtrack Stick with a Cymbal. And next week will be our last one for this book, and then we'll talk about where we're going next. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Christy, Veronica, Hannah, Debbie. It's been so good. Thank you for being with us. This has been meaningful to me. I hope it has been for you too. And so I will catch you guys in the groups. Hit me up if you need anything, if you need support, if you need someone to cheer you on. I'll be your cheerleader. But I'm going to need it as well, because I need to be cheered on from time to time. So we'll do it together. I will see you guys this time next week. I love you guys so much. And I will see you guys in the group. Have a great night. And Florida and the surrounding area, we are loving you and praying for you tonight. Be safe. Talk to you guys soon.